but there's not a real lot of information on that, and nobody knows for sure.
Would artificial warming of the waters like power plants play a figure in that, you think? Or?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, if we have unusual warm seasons, you know, I usually knew when I set my lines, when I commercially fish for them, I knew when to expect the great hammerheads. We have two species of hammerheads, for example, in Florida. The scalloped hammerhead usually we catch further offshore and in the colder months. And in the summer months, in the spring, we catch the great hammerhead. And I knew what time of the year I would catch different sharks, the bull or the black tip or the hammerhead or the tiger, and the nurse shark too. And sometimes we might have the winter might last a little bit longer into the spring, so that the weather would be colder, so that might delay the warmer water sharks from showing up. Or it might be reversed, and we might have a warmer winter. And if we have a warmer winter, the lemons might stay around longer instead of migrating to the Keys. So there's different things that would alter that.
Awesome. For example, with a red tide or you know,
ooh, red tide.
Yeah, phenomenons like that, or like, how about the, you know, this is, you know, we're doing this interview now. This is August of 2010, right after your book has just came out. How about this cold winter that we had this year that was just unbelievable? They killed so many snook and fish in the bay.
Yeah, that would definitely have an effect on the migration pattern of the sharks, and but they'll still show up. Red tide is interesting because you can't change the migratory pattern of fish, rays, turtles, and sharks. And for example, if you have a red tide that kills off all of the panfish, you'll have your stingrays moving in when they come in their predictable migration pattern. If you have a red tide, they come in and the panfish are gone. They have nothing to feed on, so then they move. That might speed up their migration pattern. Well, once they move out and the sharks come in to feed on the stingrays and they don't find the stingrays, what's left?
Yeah.
Swimmers. And as a matter of fact, I even predicted this several years ago. I think it was in 2004 we had a bad red tide. And I told my wife, well, she wasn't my wife then, but she was writing the book, and I told her, I said, we're going to have a lot of shark attacks because the rays had come in. I saw huge schools of thousands and thousands of southern stingrays off of the Anna Maria City Pier, and there was nothing for them to eat. I mean, there was no small crabs, there was no small panfish, minnows, baitfish was all gone, and they were going to move out. Well, the bull sharks and the hammerheads and the blacktips were going to come in right behind them for their normal seasonal migration, and the stingrays were going to be gone. So I told her, I said, you know, we're going to have some shark attacks. And if I knew that, Moat did too, but they didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden we started having severe shark attacks. We had 3 in a matter of a week and a half. And, you know, one of them was deadly. And my wife looked at me like I had a crystal ball or something, but it wasn't any crystal ball. It was just fact.
So as far as based on, you know, what the scientists are saying right now, as far as the amount of sharks that are in Tampa Bay or in the Gulf waters where you've been fishing here in Florida, for example, you know, they're saying there's being 100 million sharks slaughtered every year, and the sharks are dwindling in numbers. What do you say about that?
Horseshit. Basically, the bottom line is that we have more. There is no commercial shark fishing in Florida, and as far as the charter guys, they're trying to limit them as to how many sharks they can catch. They're telling you what species you can catch because they're claiming they're dwindling in numbers, and you can only catch 1 shark per person or 2 per boat. Okay, now here's an example. They've outlawed long lining. I can't use a long line anymore, and you can see the size of the hook and the size of the chain and the size of the gear to bring these sharks in. Now, this is what's legal. See here, this is what's legal. We've got this massive hook here. See this massive legal hook? And then you have the illegal hook. Now, which do you think is going to catch the bigger shark? This is not rocket science, folks. Okay, and the bottom line is they know that if a bunch of charter boys go out there, first of all, we have no legal commercial shark fishing for 2 decades, 20 years now. So ask any charter guy. that goes out and catches grouper, catches redfish, catches tarpon, and see how many sharks, see if he thinks they're dwindling in numbers. Almost a third.
You're looking at them.
There you go. Okay, now the bottom line is, now that this is illegal, I can no longer set these long lines. I can't go out there and prove that they're liars. Basically, if I was to go out here, if I was allowed to legally go out and set these lines, I could bring in tons of sharks per week on these lines.
And that would be exactly what they don't want you to do, so
And
that's why
they don't want me to do that, because the state of Florida is a tourist industry. Trillions and trillions of dollars are brought into this state for tourism. They don't want me coming into the beach, pulling in big sharks with big jaws, because that's bad for tourism. Just like alligators are bad for tourism, and just like red tide is bad for tourism. But as long as they let this legal, they know you're not going to be bringing in no 2 tons of sharks, and you're not going to be bringing in no 14 or 1,600 pounders. But with this, I will. So they've outlawed that. So there's an agenda here. The agenda is to protect the tourism industry. The sharks are out there, and there's even more of them now, because you got the protection, the environmentalists telling you that they're gone. In reality, they're not gone. And you got guys like George Burgess, who's in charge of the International Shark Attack File, who claims that I'm some guy that only knows about sharks in a very small geographical location. That's not true. If sharks are dwindling in numbers, that means less of. Less of. If they're becoming extinct, that means no more. No more. Well, all you got to do is pick up your newspapers, look at your television. We have more and more huge schools of sharks offshore. We're seeing more and more sightings of great whites. They're catching more great whites. They're catching, sports fishermen now are hooking huge tigers like the South Florida Shark Fishing Club. These guys are catching huge tigers right off the beach from Texas, Louisiana to Florida Keys. Now, if they're dwindling in numbers, why are they catching so many sharks? There's your answer.
I just wanted to thank you for letting me come by, Bill, and it was really great talking to you and just being a guide myself. Learning a little bit about the knowledge you have, and hopefully one day I'll have the pleasure of having you on my boat, and maybe I'll even learn some more. So.
Oh, I'll be glad to go out now. I always enjoy talking about sharks. A lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
All right, looking forward to finishing your book, and you guys get out there. Sharkman of Cortez, Captain Bill Gold Schmitt.
Read the book. I tell you the truth.